Picture it. You're on a date and everything seems perfect. Great conversation, a few laughs, and even a spark of chemistry.
But something small nags at you. Maybe it's a comment they make or a vibe you can't shake.
Are you overthinking it? Or is your gut trying to tell you something?
What are the signs that scream run or the ones that say keep going?
Red and green flags in dating. Let's talk about it.
On this episode of Just Draws.
What's up, everybody? You've tuned in to Just Draws, the podcast that explores hot topics and various experiences among same gender loving black men. In each episode, we offer raw, vulnerable, and stripped down perspectives to give voice to our frequently overlooked population. Here, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep, peeling back the layers of our experiences as well as heteronormative stereotypes. Let's get into this week's episode.
All right. Welcome back to the Just Draws podcast. I am Jeff.
And I'm your boy DMC.
All right. And today we're going to talk about red and green flags. We are also coming from the fancy Walmart.
Just any fancy Walmart.
The fancy Walmart. Everyone has a fancy Walmart. So we're whatever the fancy Walmart is to you, that's where we're coming from.
Okay. All right. I got to figure out which one that is in the area where I live. So I don't know.
Yeah. There's always a nice Walmart and there's the hood Walmart.
Yes,
so
right.
Mm-hmm.
I know where the hood one is in Atlanta. You used to live down the street from that one. But
yeah, well, that's one actually isn't the hood Walmart. That one is
not
hood-ish, but it's not the.
Okay. So what is the hood?
In Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
Probably Gresham Road and or Cleveland Avenue probably be the hood Walmarts, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could potentially see that. The Gresham Road one, is that the one that we used to go to this over by that Kroger?
No,
that's somewhere else.
That one's out to like you're going into DeKalb County. So
okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yep. So anyway, enough about Walmarts and our location.
Right.
So today on this episode, we are going to be talking about red and green dating flags. So you hear a lot about online, we've got people popping balloons. We've got, green flags about I'm going to date this person because they do this. We've got red flags. I'm not going to date this person because of that. And we're going to talk about that tonight. So we've got a couple of different categories that we'll hit and, talk about our own experiences with what we feel are good green flags and bad red flags. So just kind of get it started. So we've got different categories, like I said. So we will talk about social looks, personality types, how people are employed, education levels, different things like that. And we'll just kind of like go through. So to kick it off, I want to start by just talking about the types of green and red flags that I've experienced when I've decided to pursue someone or date someone. So, we've all had a relationship. Most of us have relationships, but, even before you've actually made it to the point of the relationship, you've gotten to the different stages where you said, hey, I'm going to go on a date with this person, get to know them a little bit better. And in that process of getting to know someone, that's when you have the flags come out. A green flag that I have experienced with the people that I've dated. I'm going to start with not the most recent person or the person that I'm currently dating, but for anonymity, we're going to call this person Scott. So Scott was had a very good outgoing personality, pretty jovial. A lot of people knew him and people, always never met a stranger type of guy.
So is Scott a name used to protect the innocent?
Yes.
All right, bet. Got it.
Yes. So that's where we're using the pseudonym.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to, I did, for some reason, I wasn't paying attention when you said pseudonym. So I don't know where my mind went somewhere else. I don't know. So
yeah. So you were too busy trying to correct me.
I was because I couldn't let that go. I couldn't.
See,
Yeah.
you should have just went with it. But yeah, so Scott, very jovial person, and I was attracted to that because I kind of felt like, oh, this person is easy to talk to. The relationship lasted for a while. It was during like COVID times. I think that kind of contributed, but that's another story. But I felt like because their personality was so, at least for me, intriguing and easy to talk to, it was kind of like meeting a new friend. That kind of like stood out for me, and that relationship was just, they were just very outgoing, very extroverted, and chill. So that was a green flag for me, and one of the green flags for that person. Two, we went out on a couple of dates, and the dates were cool. Like, we would go out to eat and just sit and talk, and it's nice. I'm the type of person that, even though you can say that's really kind of basic, but going out to eat to me is like, all right, awesome, because I ain't got to cook and you ain't got to cook, and we can just sit and talk about life and whatever we got going on, and just kind of talking about different experiences that we had in our relationships. There were some similarities that I felt like, oh, I kind of had that experience too, and we had a discussion about things that we would not want to happen in a relationship, and a lot of those things aligned. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I think I can pursue this relationship, whatever it was going to be at the time, with this person a lot easier than I could with other people that I dated prior to that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, good outgoing personality, some shared dating principles. All that was good for me for that person, Scott. What about you?
It was crazy because I'm sitting here going, okay, Scott, do I know Scott? And so you said COVID time, and I said, okay, yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about. And then it registered like in the middle of your story, like, okay, I know who Scott is now. Got it. All right.
Okay.
So green flags. Green flags for me, one of the biggest green flags for me is really one of my non-negotiables in relationships and getting to know people, et cetera. And that is communication. So in a later podcast, we will be talking a little bit about love languages, or at least if it's not me and Jeff, it might be me and Anjali that are talking about love languages. So just kind of stay tuned for that, listeners. But communication is really big for me. I need to be able to engage with you. I need for you to be able to engage with me. I need for there to be some mutuality. I need there to be some reciprocity in all of that. That's a real big green flag for me. If I'm reaching out and you're reaching back, and or you're initiating conversation with me, I love that. I love that. Honestly, as it relates to a lot of other things that we're going to be talking about throughout the rest of the podcast tonight, all that stuff really hinges on communication. If we have good communication, I know what your sense of humor is like. I know what you value. I know what things keep your love tank filled. I know all of those things because we've had conversations about that. I know about you. That's right. That's right. Before we get to filling the love tank, I need to know what things you like in order to keep your love tank filled. So yeah, those things like that, it helps me understand what things have happened to you in the past when you communicate those, so that I understand what your triggers are, what your boundaries are, all of those things. So that's the main green flag for me. All of the other things, again, just kind of happen. I don't necessarily discriminate, or I don't necessarily like hold back, because I may be a little bit different than some other people. But we'll talk about red flags in a minute. But in thinking about the situation that you just talked about, have you seen any, what kind of green flags would you have that you haven't seen in someone?
That I've tried, that, what I would be looking for if I was looking to date someone else?
Yeah.
Okay. Good question. I can say that as far as it goes with personality types.
Mm-hmm.
I think I work better with someone that's a little bit more extroverted than I am.
Okay.
And not someone that's kind of like introverted, but I don't think that being an introvert is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to people that were introverted, but I don't think that we kind of like hit it off as well.
Why
Because
do
it's
you think
kind of
that
harder
was?
to, I think because it's harder to initiate like a change unless I end up becoming the person that is the extrovert.
Okay.
So I think an introvert would bring out more extrovertedness out of me because I'm not going to want to sit at home all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that if the right mix of other green flags for me were to come into play, then that would probably be something that I would say would be a green flag for me. I'm not really, I guess it would be more like a preference for me to like probably rather have someone that's more extroverted than I am,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily would be a bad thing or a red flag if they were more introverted.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it kind of like, and what you just brought up just now about communication is something that I really didn't consider as a category, because communication styles also is very important, because
Yeah.
if you don't communicate the same way, then it's kind of hard to get anything happening with that, because if you're a person that's kind of like a dry texter, or someone always has to pull the stuff out from you,
Yeah.
and the other
Yeah.
person doesn't really have the ability to kind of like volley back, and it's kind of like, hey, I had a really stressful day today. We had these meetings. I got this coworker. She's already stressed out. Blah blah blah. This and the other. It just wasn't all that great. And then I asked you, how was your day? And you was like, it was good. And you just have someone that sounds like a little, 11-year-old boy that doesn't really know how to express themselves very well, and
Mm-hmm.
everything. It was good. It was fine. It was bad. You got not getting any type of detail. And it's kind of like, well, how do I like work with
Right. Right. I've had those before. I've had people that have told me that they don't like to talk on the phone.
that? Mm-hmm.
And I get that, I think that's one of these standard kind of excuses that people use all the time. Well, I don't like talking on the phone, or I don't like answering a bunch of questions. I don't like this. I don't like that. But you're giving me a whole bunch of list of things that you don't like. But what is it that you do like? And what are some things that I can engage you on
Mm-hmm.
in order to get to know you? Because for me, I am not going to get to know somebody via text. And I say
Yeah.
that to people all the time. I'm like, yeah, if we're interested, if there's some mutual interest there, I'm not going to try to get to know you via text. We need to have a conversation.
Right.
I've been on dating apps before, and I think that dating apps are supposed to be springboards to moving a situation or relationship or whatever it is that you're looking for. So if we're talking initially on an app, that's cool. But I need for us to progress to that. I need to progress to something else, like progress to exchanging phone numbers, and then progress from there to having a phone conversation. And then from there, we figure out what level of frequency we're going to have, what level of consistency we are negotiating with us,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. So somebody who is on that level is definitely also a green flag for me. And I don't think I've
Okay.
met people who I don't think I've seen that I haven't, like, green flags that I haven't seen in other people, but I don't necessarily live in that space either. I don't necessarily live in that green and red flag space. It's like, okay, look, I like this about this person. Of course, this could be better, but it's not red flag. Red flags are like absolutely non-negotiables for me. So I
Yeah.
know that we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, get into that, because we were just having a conversation about a mutual friend,
Mm-hmm.
and that person told us that, they don't communicate very well on the phone. They're not a call person, and they only
Mm-hmm.
text. And, when you text only, then you're losing tone, you're
Context.
losing
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
context, you're losing inflection and
Mm-hmm.
emotion,
Yeah.
and it's just words on the screen. And then it's hard to kind of really understand like what that person means, because you're reading it in your head one way, and they're typing it in their
A different
hands
way.
a
Yeah.
different way.
Mm-hmm.
And, those things may not match. And it's kind of harder to really kind of get to know someone. So yeah, I mean, your communication styles definitely have to be similar or in step. And then if you know that that's an area where you lack when it comes to communicating, and you know that the other person works better with that other style. If you're really interested in that person, getting to know them, and that be that a friend or be it romantically, then you should step up to the plate and be like, okay, I know this guy, this girl, she is not really a texter. I'm a texter. She likes to talk. He likes to talk. I need to step my game up and just kind of like bear with this, because the greater good here, end goal, is for me to be with this person or get to know them better. So
or compromise or come to the table with, okay, yes, I'm not a big phone person. However, I can commit to having at least 1 or 2 phone conversations with you, even if they're not super long conversations. For me, I'm fine with a good 5-minute conversation 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, on the way to work, coming home from work. I'm okay with stuff like that, because at least that shows effort, and that shows that there is some interest, that there's mutual interest there, and that, yeah, I'm not just, I'm not spinning my wheels, or just hoping that this is what it is, and then not really getting anything that's clear. So I'm real big on that, and I'm real clear about how I like to communicate, and I'm clear on the ways in which mutuality shows up for me. And I try to put that out there to people. So again, even in that same conversation that we were just talking about with a mutual friend, that it was like, okay, look, you keep saying that you're not good with communication, but is that something that you want to change? Is that something that you're working towards fixing? Or are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, then you can't be pissed off at somebody else for not reaching out to you if you're okay with not reaching back.
Yeah. It's a two-way street. And I was in a relationship, and I told the guy, I said, the phone works 2 ways. It doesn't. It's a bidirectional form of communication.
Good
so
word.
If you don't hear from me and I am on your mind, it's okay for you to call me or text me. You don't have to sit there and wait and look at the clock and be like, oh, he hasn't texted me since 1 o'clock and now it's going on 8 p.m. Don't do that. If you feel like you're trying to use that as a metric to see like base or try to judge interest, that's not a good way to do that. Because I could honestly just be busy. I could be asleep. There's other things that I could be doing. And I'm not saying that, a 7-hour span is, a reasonable amount of time if it's during daytime and that I work or I'm awake. But I still don't feel like it's effective if you're just waiting around the phone for me to text. You can initiate the conversation. So
would that person have to always initiate the conversation though?
No, but I'm just saying it in general. I don't think that if we are following and having a conversation and back and forth via text, and we're not together, so you don't know what I'm doing right now, and I don't know what you're doing right now. Something could have came out with work. I could have gotten sleepy, had a nap. There's many reasons why you may not have heard from me in a span, but going back to communication style, people have to understand that texting is not instant messaging. So there should not be an expectation that, oh, he was texting me fast and furious for 5 minutes straight, and now it's been 10 minutes and I hadn't gotten a response back. Even if read receipts are enabled and all that good stuff, that doesn't really matter. You just have to give a person time to like live life and then come back to texting. It could be that they looked at the text, could have been on their watch, could have been in the car driving, and they just did not get back to you for whatever reason. But, that's not a healthy way to go about trying to communicate with someone, just trying to track down in time the length of time that it's been since the last time y'all texted and waiting on him or her to text you. So communication style is definitely something that people need to be, aligned with, if they're trying to really, date someone. So another category for red and green flags would be like their socialness. So just like I said before, I had a very jovial, very outgoing person. And I know that a red flag for many people could be that, hey, this person has a lot of social media, they're always out. I see pictures of them all the time. And they may not even be quite at influencer level, but they could just be a person that's like known around town to always like be out, be on the scene and whatnot. And for some people, that's a turn off. And for some people, that's kind of like, oh, this person is known.
Yeah,
And
put
if
me
that other
on,
person
put me
wants to be,
on.
yeah, put me on. And I want to be known too. So if I can get with them, then, maybe that's a way that I can also be popular. Maybe that's a way that I can also be an influencer.
Yeah.
For me, I don't see that as a negative, but, you do have to be confident enough to say, if y'all go out and the person is popular, you have to be secure enough to let that person be popular and be social, because they were social before they met you. They're probably still going to be social after y'all are done, or after y'all get together and get married and get the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids in the house. Excuse me. Those are things that you just have to manage. But at the same time, if you're not into that and you see that as a negative, then you kind of know that, hey, this person's popular. I don't want to deal with that. I just want someone that's kind of low key, stays on the radar. Yeah, we may go out to eat, we may go out to the club, we may go out to the social event, but at the end of the day, I don't, want to deal with someone where I feel like I have to compete with their time with someone else, or with the world. And a lot of people just don't have that bandwidth where they can just kind of deal with that. So I can see that as being a negative and a positive at the same time. It just kind of depends on where you are as a person.
Okay. I don't have any hangups as it relates to people's social status and how they move in that respect. The very first guy that I ever dated or ever said that we were in a relationship, which we only dated and were in a relationship for about 3 months, something to that effect. So the first person that I ever dated, I was in my 30s, but the first guy I ever dated, he was a little more social. He would go hang out. Again, we didn't live in the same area, but he would go hang out with a friend of his, a good friend of his best friend, matter of fact. And I knew who he was, or I'd been kind of introduced to him on like a FaceTime or a video chat situation. But he would go out every Friday. They would go out to the club, they would go hang out, and I had absolutely no problems with that. My thing was, hey, just be careful. Be safe, just let me know when you make it back. I don't have any issues with people who are social like that or they hang out a lot, because I'm more of a homebody. I'm the person that I don't have to go out. I don't have to be out in the midst of a lot of people. I would rather be in exclusive situations, small, intimate groups of people, game nights, things of that nature, but not and not necessarily be so inclusive. Like I don't have to be out in the midst of everybody and with everybody.
So
Or if
you're here
I'm
for the kickback.
Yeah, I'm here for a kickback. I'm here for a game night. I'm here for let's watch a movie, let's catch up on a show together, let's just sit around and shoot the shit. That's what I'm about. Because I think those small intimate groups of people, I don't feel like competing for attention or competing to be heard in super large groups like that. So I'd rather be in a small group where everybody can be heard, everybody can get in, everybody can talk. So, but he would hang out and I didn't have a problem with that. And also I don't have a problem with people who don't want to hang out as much. People who are like, hey, I want to just come home, chill out, relax. I'm good with that. I actually love that.
So if you would be okay if they are like, hey, I got all this social battery energy, I need to go spend it.
Go for it.
And you just kind of sit at home and just kick it until
Go
they get
for it.
back. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So you don't
I
feel
don't
like
have a
you
problem
have
with
to. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Well, that's
No.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people can feel like they can get that FOMO, or they
Yeah.
just want to see what's going on. Like, well, why is he out? And why is he not with me? and they'll go ahead and go
You and these
when
goddamn
they don't
voices.
want to. They'll go ahead and go out even though they really don't want to, but they at the end their end goal here is to just watch and be observant to see like who is he talking to, who is she talking to while I'm out, while we're out. And those are to me, I kind of feel like you'd be better off just sitting at home, because if that's the case, then you can, stay home, watch the Golden Girls, watch Good Times, read a book, play Nintendo, do all of those other little things that you want to do, talk to your other friends, instead of like worrying about what your person is doing. I don't think that's healthy.
That doesn't. Yeah, that's never been a thing for me. Like, you go out and hang out. Most of the guys that I've dated, though, if they go out somewhere and, like, let's say they get approached or they get hit on, they normally will come and tell me. They're like, "Hey, listen, I was out hanging out with so and so, and this person came up and they said so and so to me, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that." So I'm not a jealous person, and I'm not a person that. The only time I'm left to my own devices, or I start thinking about other things, like there might be issues within our relationship or that somebody might potentially be stepping out, is when you stop communicating with me. When the things that I know us to have established change, then I go, okay, I need to figure out what's going on with this or why this is what it was. Otherwise, if things are what they always have been, you're never going to have any issues with me. And then if I do feel like there's a shift, I'm going to approach it, because you know how confrontational I am. I'm like, yeah, let's have a conversation about this, or what's going on? Did I do something wrong? Tell me. So.
Yeah. And I mean, at least you are aware enough to ask, hey, is something going on? Because a lot of people just won't say anything. And then it's just kind of like it goes unsaid until it erupts later on, and then it causes like a blow up. So.
Have you dated any people who are not just necessarily on social media, like, the calm social media like IG and Instagram? I'm saying not IG, Instagram, Facebook, or Snapchat, stuff like that. But have you dated people who might be into the gray arts? I ain't gonna call them the dark arts, but people who are on, sexually related sites, or, Twitter, OnlyFans?
I have not dated anyone that has a freak Twitter or OnlyFans.
Now, you said in a previous, you said it was alt. You said it was an alt Twitter. You said it was a freak Twitter. So
yeah, freak Twitter, alt Twitter, same thing.
Same thing. Okay, so you said you have one in a previous podcast. You said
I have one, but
okay.
I don't. So when I say that,
it's not your content.
If we're saying, so let's just say content creator, porn, OnlyFans, just for fans type of person. I have not dated anyone that has any of that going on and is currently doing it. Because I can't say that I wouldn't, but I'm not really interested in that, just because it kind of goes with, not that those people aren't undateable, because I don't think that that's it. I don't want to deal with any type of backlash that kind of comes with that, even though more people are accepting of it. And I'm perfectly okay with someone that I'm dating being sexual with other people. I just don't think that everything needs to be documented for profit when it comes to a relationship, a serious relationship that I would want to have. I wouldn't want the person to do OnlyFans for myself. Okay. So that, for me, that would be a red flag, because I just don't have the interest in that.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to ask. I have not dated. Okay, let me take that back. So I was in a relationship with a guy for a while who, and we're no longer, we broke up a little while ago. We were together for probably about a year and a half. Definitely a year. The other half of the year was kind of, in theory, we were together, but like we weren't really conversing. We weren't really like talking like that. So, but he was definitely a lot more openly freaky than I am.
Mhm.
So I have seen things on X/Twitter of him. So, but that's, we're not even together. So this is more recent that I've seen some things. And I never had an issue with any of the stuff that he did anyway. I mean, he
Mhm.
was he was a guy that would tell me that if I wanted to go get sucked up, by somebody else and he wasn't around, he was like, all right, cool, just go do that, record it and send me a copy of it so I can see it. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm not doing that, but okay. Then I definitely hooked up and had sex or sexual adjacent sort of things happen with people who are on X
Mhm.
and have done OnlyFans and have OnlyFans and stuff like that. So I definitely have engaged with people like that. But again, I don't judge them. And most of the time, they're in that mindset. They're in that frame of mind of, this is what I want to do. I just want to kind of meet up with you, fuck,
Mhm.
whatever we gonna do, and then, just kind of go on, or consistently do that. But it's not something that it's like, hey, you know what, I'm really interested in you and you can take me out of this lifestyle, kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I've dated and messed around with people that have OnlyFans before, so that's not a big deal to me. I
mhm.
just don't want to date someone that's currently doing it right now.
Okay.
For me, I feel like if a person was into porn, into OnlyFans, this and other, because sex work is work, I would need them to be just removed from it for a while. Like, if, hey, I used to do this, I don't do this currently. Now, I paint houses or I put up drywall or something like that. That's a life removed from them. Yeah, I'd be cool with that. That wouldn't bother me. Just not currently. I just don't want to deal with that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fair.
And again, nothing wrong with it.
Hmm.
Again,
Hmm.
and the people that I know that have OnlyFans accounts, or make content like that, just regular people.
Right.
And not everyone even makes content with other folks. Some people just make stuff,
They do a lot of solo
solo.
stuff.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do solo
Yeah.
stuff, But as far as like engaging with other people, probably if they only did solo, I probably would be okay with that. But it's just a constant documenting of it that was kind of like get on my nerves after a while.
Hmm.
So I'm not even going to play like it. Like, it wouldn't even be just be jealous. It'd just be like tiring.
Yeah. 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 I get it.
Because it ends up being a thing like where if the person was kind of going back to earlier, like if they were kind of social, then you see that every time that you go out to the club together or this and another, it'd be like, I'll always be someone, hey, I done busted 8 nuts watching you do this type of video, etc. And I was like, I'd just be like, okay, well, look at
Thanks.
that. You've got fans,
Yeah.
and just kind of keep it moving. But yeah, after a while, I think like this is getting kind of old. Not to
Mm-hmm.
say that, after a person's retired, that they wouldn't still be able to, have that same type of experience or exchange with someone.
Mm-hmm.
But, if I know that you're constantly or you're currently doing or you just filmed the scene like a month ago and that's the scene that they're talking about, then I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd just be just a lot for me to kind of deal with. And I just don't want to deal with it
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So. So speaking about like past relationships and things like that, um, so that's also a thing that is a category that people kind of deal with when they look at a person if they have a good relationship with their ex. For some people, they can see that as a problem because it means that the ex is still in the loop some kind of
Mm-hmm.
some kind of way, somewhere. Um, and then also it could be, if a person has a bad relationship with their ex, then why is it so toxic now? Like what happened? What did you do? Was anything to do with them personally, or are you just kind of bitter? I'll say for me, if a person has a good relationship with their ex, I actually see that as a good thing because to me, there's so much negativity in the dating world that if a person has at least a cordial relationship with their ex. I'm not saying that they're buddy buddy, not saying they're going out to Olive Garden to eat unlimited pasta and salad. I'm just saying that they will at least call 911 if they see them choking in the street type of person. You know what I mean? Then that's actually good to me. I feel like that means that person was actually able to resolve a conflict and the relationship just didn't work out, because a relationship can end and it not necessarily be a bad thing. Y'all could just be like, hey, you know what? I don't really think I'm into you like that anymore. Same. And y'all just kind of go your own way. It doesn't have to be, oh, he cheated on me. Oh, he did this. Oh, he did. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. So I don't think that that's bad, because I don't have the expectation that if you're talking to your ex and I'm dating you now, I don't expect that y'all are talking all the time. So I don't feel like that person is a threat, because I feel like if that's the case, you've had air and opportunity to get back together anyway. Why not just do that?
Okay.
And I'm also the type of person that, if you're not interested in talking to them romantically again, then that would come up. You know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, I just, can't help myself. I just got to be with this person. I feel like that would reveal itself a lot easier if you ask the right questions and just watch the right behaviors anyway.
Which goes back to my thing of communication. Like, you have to be able to communicate all of those things. I like to ask about all of those things early on so that I understand who I'm dealing with and what baggage they're coming to me with. And that way I can make a decision on, okay, am I going to help with this baggage, or am I just going to go, okay, nah, this is a bit much for me? And normally with people that I've dated, I never like, what's the word I want to use? I never use that as a deterrent from me actually getting to know them and stuff like that. I just want to know the situations that happen.
Okay. Cool.
So I think I agree with you on some of that, with the idea of, I want you to be upfront, or I want to know. I didn't even think about the idea of that shows me if you have a good relationship with your ex that you can handle conflict. I didn't think about that. But
yeah,
I think that it's healthy. It's healthy. I think it does show a level of emotional intelligence, which is another green flag for me. So I need people to be self-aware. I need you to communicate, and I need you to have some sort of emotional intelligence. And that can show up in a lot of different ways. And so it's not objective. It's not one way that people can show emotional intelligence, but there's a lot of ways that I think people can communicate that. And I'm here for all of it. So I think that's important,
Yeah. And you mentioned baggage, and baggage could come in different forms, and not necessarily bad baggage, but it could just be something that a person has. So a person could be divorced, a person could have kids. So do you think that those are things that would be a red flag for you if a person has a kid, or they were previously married and now they're divorced? Because being married is really a big deal. Some people just have, oh, that's my boyfriend. We've been boyfriends and boyfriend for like 8 years, and they're not engaged. They've just been together a while, but someone's actually been married. It seems like for a lot of people that's just such a big thing, even if they were only married for like 3 years and got a divorce. People kind of like really hold on to the fact that this person has been married before and now they're a divorcee, or, that's just kind of, I don't know. I don't know why it holds a lot of weight for some people. It doesn't for me, but I could see that as being an issue for other people. But I don't understand why it's such a big deal for them.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either. The last guy that I dated had 2 kids, and I didn't have a problem with that. It showed me that he was responsible, and it showed me the love that he was able to give to me, because I saw the love that he was giving to both of his children. And it also gave us something to talk about. Sometimes it gave us talking points, like, hey, how are things going with, this? How are things going with this? I remember you telling me about that and telling me about this. So it was cool. It was some, and it showed him that I was interested in how he was parenting. And sometimes he even talked to me about what he was dealing with there. And me, million questions. I get a chance to ask a bunch of questions about, okay, well, could it potentially be this? Or have you thought about this? Or what about this, or in this situation? And so he's like, hey, I didn't even think about it like that, because I'm on the outside looking in. When you're a parent, there's certain things that you think but somebody else can bring those things out. So being married, divorced, kids, none of that really plays a factor, or it never bothers me like that. I think that the only time I could consider it, or would consider it, a red flag is if the person has kids and they're not in their child's or their children's lives. That may be a red flag to me.
Yeah.
But it even depends there on the circumstances of why, or if they've been married a few times and divorced a few times, and they're not able to articulate to me what happened in the relationships. That might be a red flag for me, because what it was.
Yeah.
And it's more attractive to me if you're owning your part in it. If you're saying, you know what, we were together, this happened, and this happened.
Right.
He did this, he did that, he did this, but I wasn't this and I wasn't that. Like that's a turn on to me. Like, okay, well, good. Again, self-awareness. And
the person being reflective and, owning up, being accountable for the part they played in however that relationship fizzled.
But most gay guys that I know that date are more so about, well, this person did this and this person did that, and fuck them, kind of thing. And I'm like, well, what, did you have a role in anything? Like
you were just an audience member.
Yeah, you were just sitting out watching everything. You were doing everything right. There wasn't shit you did wrong, but all of a sudden, this person decided they were going to do that. So, and then I'm always asking, okay, well, how did you handle that situation? I had a really interesting conversation with my other best friend about his previous relationship, and he hasn't been in a relationship in a while, and he always kind of calls back to, I haven't been in a relationship because the last relationship I was in was so torturous, or it was so tumultuous, whatever. And so I finally asked him one day, I said, well, talk to me about what made that tumultuous, what made it that bad, because I don't think I had ever asked. And when he started explaining to me some things that happened and some ways that he moved, I told him, I said, okay, I'm side-eyeing you a little bit now. I was like, because you're telling me that this person did this, but you contributed in a way to how he functioned. And then why did you say this, or why did you do that, instead of just kind of asking this? And so I was like, wow. I was like, okay. He was kind of able to own some of that and talk about some of those things. But I was just like, man, like this, I don't even feel as bad for the other dude as I did before I knew all of this. Like I there was some shit that he did that was wrong, but like you kind of helped it a little bit. And then now you're so not interested in being in a relationship anymore behind some stuff that you helped yourself get to, or you kind of drove yourself partially the way to, so it's weird to me, but still love him though. And I hope he comes out of that at some point.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm good with, like, I don't see that someone being, like you, divorced or having kids is like a red flag for me. I will say though, at this age and stage in my life, I would rather, if he has kids, I'd rather them be independent of age and adults. I'd rather not deal with a guy that has like minor children still. And the reason being is because I kind of feel like I'm at a stage in my life where I want to
be naked all the time.
No, I'm at a stage in my life where I want to have, the focus of the relationship should be on me.
Okay.
On us. And I feel like if you've got kids and they're young kids, then that's not going to really work, because you're going to have to take that kid to karate practice, pick them up from recital and all that little stuff. And I don't really want to hop into an instant family right now. I want to be with someone. I want us to enjoy each other. I want us to focus on us. And kids can come along later on. That can be via surrogacy. That could be via adoption, maybe. But even still, that's been something that I kind of felt like that ship has sailed so long for me that I don't even really see myself doing that, because I kind of feel like I barely take care of myself, let alone another human being that now I'm wholly responsible for, or at least halfway with this other person. And, at this stage, I have to intentionally have a kid. It's not going to be like some type of happenstance, like, oh, I just ran out and had sex with this chick and now she's pregnant.
Just slipped up into some, and
that's not happening.
Yeah,
that's not happening. Like, oh, we're pregnant.
I'm just gonna put the head in,
right? And next thing you know, whoops,
head, neck, shoulders, chest, and an abdominal cavity. 10 months later. Yep.
So then we've got a whole human here. So that for me would be a red flag. So I would want them to have kids. It's cool. I just don't want them to be little kids that are still dependent. So, but yeah. So speaking of children and family, so, you were speaking that person, the guy that you were dating last, has kids. So do you see yourself wanting to deal with that person's baby mama as a possibility? Like, if that person if she's still in his life, is that something that would have been an issue for you?
No, I don't think so. I think that, again, I have enough emotional intelligence that I know how to kind of stay out of certain situations, and I have enough discernment to be able to stay out of certain situations. And I think, honestly, everybody has the ability to do that. If you're dating somebody with children, and this, for all our listeners, if you're dating somebody with children and they have a baby's mom, like, what sort of personality this person has, or at least what sort of personality the baby's mother has in conversation or in relation to the person that you're dating. So if your eyes are open enough that you're paying attention to what's being said and the situations that are happening around that, how to move. You absolutely will know how to move. And any situations where I've dated people who actually have kids, because he's not the only person that I've been interested in that has kids, but everybody that has had kids that I have at least tried to talk to before, I've understood where that baby mother or the mother of that child falls into the infrastructure of their co-parenting situation, if there even is a co-parenting situation. So I say to everybody else, if you open your eyes enough, you can see what's going on and you can understand what's going on. You don't necessarily have to be on your guard or on your toes all the time around that person or around the other person. And 9 times out of 10, if the person is gay that has kids, the mom knows. Like, it's not a situation of, well, I think that we're still gonna get together, because they're like, no, I know they're dating somebody else. Even with the last guy that I dated, his kids knew me, or knew of me. And so, that's what it was. I don't know if the mother of the oldest child knew who I was. Maybe, I don't know, but I never really talked much about her. And, I just kind of, like you said, focused on us and, whatever that nuclear family or whatever that nucleus was going to be. So it wouldn't bother me. No. Do you think it would bother you?
I mean, I know that even if, say, I did date someone and they did have younger kids, being in that situation as the kid before, I know that my role isn't to come in and replace anyone.
Right.
My role would just kind of be an extra adult in the house. So I wouldn't really have the expectation that I'm trying to compete with this person, the baby mama. I would not feel jealousy towards the baby mama because I'm like, hopefully she's moved on. He's moved on. We're all moving on, but those kids are still part of the household. And if I'm in the picture, then I know I'm going to talk with, my dude and be like, hey, what type of role do you expect me to fill, if any, or what role do you want? Where do I fit in this so that I know how you want me to move when it comes to talking to your kids, dealing with the baby mama? Do you just want to be like, hey, I'll talk to her solely, and if she's cool, blah, blah, this and the other. And if we ever get to the point where we do end up getting married, then that's another conversation for us to have to feel hey, how does discipline work? Hey, talk to your dad, type of deal. I just need to know how I need to, what the playbook is that you write, because you're going to be the parent and I'm just the extra adult. And I'm not going to step over any type of boundaries or do anything that I'm not comfortable with. Because I can say for me personally, just as a general rule, if I were to date someone, and I say this because I have nieces that have younger kids or had younger kids, or they're older now, I've always felt like if a person has young kids, that whoever the single parent is dating, those kids should not really meet that person that they're dating until it's really been established that y'all are going to be a thing, because kids form attachments to these adults.
Because this is Uncle so-and-so and Aunt so-and-so.
Right. And then if that relationship doesn't work out, and then next thing you know, where's Uncle Jeff? And hey, well, baby, Uncle Jeff, he didn't have to go get a job in New York City. You're telling his kids something.
Zimbabwe.
And that's really not the case. But you've invited me into the house, and so I wouldn't feel comfortable even meeting someone's kids until I felt like we were at a good level. Like, okay, this is really going to be a thing. If you can tell me about them, show me videos of them, and be like, hey, this is Steve. Hey, this is Rachel. This, that, and the other. And I'm cool with that. And just kind of being like, all right, I know who these kids are. This and the other. I know their names. I know, what they like, this and the other. So when it gets to the point where we do meet, I can kind of probably have a conversation with them. It's like, hell yeah, when, I was a kid, I liked He-Man too. Or, Transformers, there's a new movie coming out. When I was a kid, it was a cartoon. Those are the type of things that, that's how I would handle that situation, because I would feel more comfortable going about it that way. Now, if they felt, hey, Jeff, you're cool. I've known you for just say 6 months, and I'm okay with you, meeting with the kids. Just I'd be like, are you sure? Like, I'd be going over that over and over, just because I want to make sure that before we make this move and I meet these kids in real life, that we're all on the same page and agree that it'll be fine.
Yeah, I actually dated I just thought about that. That made me think about another guy that I dated that had 2 kids, and they were definitely like school age. And I remember going to visit one weekend, and I took like videos of like old cartoons that I used to watch, because they were really into animation. And I said, hey, well, let's watch some of the stuff. Would y'all be interested in watching some of the stuff that I used to watch when I was younger? So, we had that kind of bonding a little bit. But yeah, that things didn't work out between me and him. But he's married now and happy. We still communicate. So it was all good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good way of trying to relate to the kids.
Oh yeah.
Hey, this is what I liked.
Hey, this is what I like. Yeah. What do you like? Let's talk about that.
Taking a break now, but we continue this conversation in part 2.
Let me get to know who you are first and see what other things I vibe with before I go into the, oh, well, let's talk about sex now, kind of thing. So that sometimes that doesn't bother me. But again, you do want somebody that's sexually compatible with you, whether that they have the same, like if you're verse, they have this, they're both verse, or, you want somebody that complements whatever you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't necessarily look at a position to necessarily be a red or green flag. I just know that as a person that identifies as verse, I really don't have any interest with talking to someone that's strictly top or strictly bottom, because I know for me it's gonna either not go anywhere or it's gonna be boring. So our options are, it doesn't necessarily mean that we wouldn't be able to do anything. It just means that we're definitely not going to have penetrative sex. Because I don't really want to be a person that only bottoms, and I'm definitely not going to bottom to someone that's only tops. So that means that we're just going to be living our best side lives, as we're going to be a couple. And I'm not the type of person that wants to wait around for you to be the, oh, well, if I'm in a relationship, then I'll bottom type of guy. I'd rather deal with a verse dude that, knows what's up. We can flip flop tonight, or I can do one thing tonight and something else tomorrow. And, we just do whatever it is that we do.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Now be sure to like, share, and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and Spotify at Just Draws. That's JUSTDRAWZ. Until next time,